Welcome to the Hank Russell Invitation. My name is Hank Russell. Thank you for joining me this evening. Tonight's guest is a very interesting one. A month ago, I had Dave Follett on here who does his own form of streaming when it comes to the Mario Kaizo. And I've been watching him for a while. But the guy that I've got coming on here right now, he was the first. Like, if you look at it, like all these streamers, I watch a lot of these guys that do like Mario, Metroid, all kinds of video games. You name it. But this guy was numero uno. So very cool to have him on here. And I talked to him off the phone a couple of times now, offline. And man, what a great guy, man. An interesting story behind him. And I'm going to get to know him a little bit better tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, he calls himself That Sir Nick. But tonight, we're going to treat him like a human. And it's Mr. Nick Shaw. Hey, Nick.
Woo, what up?
What up?
How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
I love this idea of being treated like a human. This is great. No personas.
Well, I'm not one to give people nicknames,
Fair enough.
I love to talk to people by their first names. I'm not a Mr. I'm not a Mr. or whatever. So or Mrs. or Miss.
Right.
So
Mr.'s my dad.
Mr. is my dad. There you go. I always tell people my grandfather is laying 6 feet under next to my grandmother. Just call me Hank. But
there you go.
But no, man. So good stuff, man. So, I want to address an elephant in the room real quick, by the way, just right off the bat. So, Nick, you've been doing this for a while, but
yes, yeah,
you've been doing it what, 3 years now?
Coming up on 4 years actually. Full time, about 3.
Okay, so the reason why I'm asking is because the elephant in the room is that when I first started watching you 2 years ago this November. I saw you on Facebook, but then like shortly after that, you started doing Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know now you're doing both. So what's the story behind that?
Great question. So there was a period coming out of the pandemic where there was a lot of changes happening on several platforms. And of course, just like any sort of video game developer or car manufacturer, the competition is healthy. So you get different experiences on different platforms. And unfortunately, the experience on Facebook was dwindling. What had really pushed it was, for some odd reason, whether it was through scheduling or some sort of error with paperwork, I don't know exactly. I got missed via payments from Facebook. And being that, Facebook was my breadwinner, not getting paid is kind of a scary thing. Right. Doesn't matter, if it's pandemic, post-pandemic, anytime. So I was getting really spooked out. And so, a month goes by and they paid me late, and that put pressure. When you never know when you're going to get paid, it can be kind of scary. And that's the problem with, this position, is sometimes you're at the whim of a website. What really did it for me was the second month in a row that they did it. And they just put so much of my piece at risk. And so I had to basically say enough is enough. And I left and went for Twitch for a while, which initially was amazing. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you first.
No, I was just going to answer the rest of your question, but if you want to interject, by all means.
No, the reason why I was the only thing I was going to say was a little off topic, but the reason why I'm more irritated for you than anything is that I remember a year and a half ago or so, you were trying to make a partner.
Yeah.
And I know that irritated you. You expressed it. It was just I don't know.
I talk about it probably once a month, if sometimes once a week. It still burns me. It was super unfortunate that it happened the way it did.
We were literally all pulling for you for that. And I remember
go ahead. No, it's just like, it's amazing that it didn't go through.
I remember when Raph almost got it. I thought he was going to get it. And I was pulling for Raph. I was just like, and I was just thinking to myself, man, what does it take? I mean, does it really take all that? Is there not potential? You know,
Yeah.
can they not go based upon
Honestly,
potential?
there's an answer for that in regards of what does it take, and unfortunately, at the end of the day, it takes luck. Um, the it seems like the jobs that seem the easiest take the more luck to find success. Based upon what happened to me is I hit the algorithm, and then for whatever reason, I took a little bit of time off, and I shouldn't have. If I wouldn't have
Mm,
taken time off, I would have been partner. For whatever reason, Facebook saw that as some sort of reason to pull my support, and I went from being
mm,
almost a partner, which is a pretty big deal considering Facebook standards, to just being another guy.
mm.
It did allow me to see some holes in Facebook and how they manage things, which was good to see, but it was still unbelievably disappointing. And the same thing for Raf. When I was on that partner push, Raf and me were basically like almost neck and neck, and we should have both gotten it right around the same time, but unfortunately things just didn't go the way they went. And truth be told, like I said, I know different things now, and I feel like I dodged a bullet considering what happened afterwards. So
Mm. Yeah. So that was the thing about it, is that I get it. Like, we were all pulling for it, and it looked. I don't know. I mean, partner. The term partner is meaning like you would join like a bigger stream, right? Is that what it is?
essentially, it's as if it's I like to consider it similar to if you're working like at a law firm or something like that. When you've made partner, they see you as an equal. They see you as bigger prestige. Um, so being a Facebook partner, you get a lot extra perks. You get invited to stuff. Facebook sees you as an asset rather than just another number to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So it's just more prestigious and gives you a little bit more perks, whether you're on Facebook, Twitch, Kick, whatever the platform you're on.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar with Kick. That's a newer one, right?
It is, yeah, fairly. It's still getting off the ground. Their biggest deal right now is giving back to creators a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
With Twitch, when you get a sub or a gift sub or any sort of sub on Twitch, which is a paid subscription, Twitch takes half of that, and Kick takes 5%, which is pretty substantial. And that's the big argument in the streaming community right now is, the evaluation of what people pay to subscribe to you versus what you receive as a streamer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like anything else in corporate business. You're gonna.
Yeah.
It's just how it is. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. Oh, real quick, I want to go to the comments. You might know this lady.
I think I might.
Hello, Sarah. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Thanks for letting me borrow him for the time being. It means a lot. Uh, absolutely, Sarah. Of course. That's, man. I tell you what, man. Like, I haven't. Obviously, Sarah is not overly interactive. Like, but the few times that you've seen her on camera, right? She's just, you know, she's been really cool. But
She's fantastic. She's the best co-host, honestly. Like, she
I,
just, yeah,
I,
she's amazing.
do you remember about a year or so ago when I made a comment joking around with Sarah about slapping you, and she actually went in the room and slapped you a few minutes later?
Honestly, I still think I feel it. Honestly, I don't remember it. She hit me pretty hard, but I'm pretty sure I feel it.
I just remember that, and I was just like, Sarah, I was just kidding. I was just kidding. I mean, but I love it because Sarah's never gotten to see me. You know what I'm saying? You're the only person that's got to talk to me outside of, and so she doesn't know that I've got a pretty good sense of humor. And
Oh, you do?
obviously, well, what am I talking about? I tell dad jokes all the time on there. So,
Right.
uh, Steel Horn Studio elbow cough. I don't get that. Do you get that?
I'm not entirely sure. It's gonna mean something, and it's probably a dig or something. I don't know, but it comes from a good place.
Yeah, and Sarah says, yeah, I am really cool. She is cool. I mean,
She's all right.
yeah, she's okay. She's good people's. But so let me ask you. So you have been doing this. Oh, hold on. I'm getting it. Hold on one second. He's answering my question. I was trying to dab. Oh, I get it. Okay, I get it.
That's actually Amusa. She is she's my only artist, but I have an artist that works for me. I commission stuff, and she makes excellent art for me.
What kind of
And
art?
anywhere from emotes in the stream, like stickers. She just developed a new overlay for me, which I'm really happy about. Just
She,
been just a solid artist, and the only artist that I'll ever need.
you know what? I will have to communicate with this lady. And, you know, she might be able to help me out. I'm trying to, you know, there are some things I'm trying to do. There are some things I'm trying to do is to beef up my, you know, podcast here and stuff like that, especially
Right.
visually. Is she somebody I should talk to?
I would say so. I mean, I've had her commission quite a few things for me, and I have not been disappointed, not once. She's just excellent, and she gets my style because she hangs out in my stream quite often, and so she understands kind of what I like. And usually, I don't have to describe what I want in too depth, and she'll have it ready very quickly. I'm very happy.
Yeah, I'm not worried about time period. I just want to know. Yeah, she'll have to. Yeah, if you're listening, Steelhorn Studios, write me on Facebook, Facebook's Messenger. This is, you know, I'd like to see what it is you do. Law's War. If this were a hard hitting interview, you'd ask him what he did. Okay. What is all right? Let's.
All
What is
right, we
all right?
want to
What's
we
the
want to
all
get
right?
into that.
Yeah, let's get into that. What's going on? What's going on there? Something I'm missing.
So I've gone through a lot of name changes. The Ington is dead. Yes. So I mean, when I started to gain steam as Sir Nickington, um, I found two things happening. I found that everybody just called me Sir Nick, and the other thing that happened was, um, I found that a lot of people had a hard time saying my name. There was one specific streamer in particular, very close friend of mine who since, no, I wouldn't say very close, but he was a good streamer friend who since passed away, and he would
Mm.
always have a hard time saying Sir Nickington. He would say anywhere from Nicktington to just he would butcher it completely, and it would always make me chuckle, but it always made me think like maybe it's a mouthful. And so initially on Facebook, I just scaled it down to just Sir Nick, and then of course I made the transition to Twitch a number of like a year and a half ago,
Mhm.
and I couldn't get Sir Nick because Twitch is a huge website, lots of users, so I just went with that Sir Nick, and it's my favorite name so far. I just feel like it works.
I like.
So that's why the Ington is dead and is buried, and this is the last time we're going to talk about it.
I love it. I love it. No, it's. I was just curious myself because you remember when I
Mm-hmm.
was like putting up the stream, you had wanted me to take it
Yeah,
down. Yeah, so.
there's some people that still call me Sir Nickington. It was catchy. I feel like if I went back to it now, I'd be cheating on myself. So I'm gonna ride that Sir Nick thing out until I move on to my next name.
If you're fabricating something for months at a time, and then you try to just, even though, and it doesn't look good, and then you try to justify it by just putting it on there anyway, you're not doing the product justice. So you're
No,
doing fine.
exactly. Yeah.
That's just the way I look at it. I mean, but let's see. Nah, he's ghosting. Will you always haunt? It will always haunt you. That's funny. So let me ask you something.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. I mean, it's obviously or a redundant question, but you do this full time now, right? You still do it full time?
I do it in the sense where I used to say it was full time back in the day when it was easy because there was a lot of, during the pandemic, post pandemic, there was a lot of success and money,
Mhm.
and I do have to, since coming out of the pandemic where things are getting more expensive and things are getting harder for a lot of people, I find myself, and of course, my size has definitely diminished since Facebook took away my push. I would say that this is one of my part-time jobs. I have a couple of things that I do aside from streaming. This is my main focus.
Mm-hmm.
I give it the focus, but I have a hard time saying it's a full-time job, but in the same sense, it's always a full-time job because I'm always looking for opportunities for growth. I'm always looking for opportunities to interact with people, whether it be on social media or other streams. So yes and no, it's a full-time gig. Yeah.
Right, because you were telling me you were also a musician at
Yeah.
your local church, right?
Yes, a musician. My wife and I, we lead a team on our worship group in our church, and then I'm also in a band as well, which is just something that has just sort of been birthed out of about a year of just waiting and seeing what's going to happen.
So you can actually like play gigs and stuff like that. So that's good.
Soon. Yeah, like we're in the process of we've pretty sure we've got all the folks that we need for the band.
Right.
It's a pre-established artist by the name of Philly Five, who's he's worked with different musicians. He's put out a couple of records, and he's got music that he wants to start making. And so he's been headhunting people over the past year, maybe even 2 years for all I know. But it's been in the back of both of our minds for about a year. But we're actually finally able to act upon it. And so we'll be hopefully making some music and jumping in the studio, I would say within a year and a half, which is really exciting because that's another dream come true. I mean, the two big things for me was, number one, just when I was a kid, I would, flip through pages of my Nintendo Power, seeing all these stories about people, play testing video games and working on the hotline and, basically playing video games to help people or just doing that for a living. So that was a big thing for me. I always wanted to play video games for a living. And then, of course, streaming was like, hey, you can sit and play video games, work your booty off, but have a lot of fun and play games for people. And they get to enjoy that. So that was number one. And now number two, I get to make music, go on, do gigs, potentially go on tours, write music and record. So it's the past few years have been tough, but man, they've been really, really opening.
What instrument are you going to play in this particular band?
So I've been drumming for a long time. I'm 34. I started playing drums when I was 8. And so as good of a streamer, video game player I'm a much better drummer. And so I'm finally able to potentially take my number one passion, which is drumming, and really go somewhere with it before I'm too old.
I should have known by looking at the drum set. You've told me you were a drummer. I mean, I feel like a bonehead. It is.
You know what? It happens. Sometimes it just fits into the background. There's almost all of my streams, there's almost always been a drum set. This is a fairly new drum set that I just bought this year. But there's almost always been some sort of drum set. I mean, I've got guitars. You can't really see them.
Yeah.
I mean, music is my life. Gaming somehow comes second. Sometimes they're interchangeable, but man, music is the reason I get up in the morning sometimes.
I feel like that you have half of Vlad TV's set in your background. I don't know if you're familiar with Vlad TV, but
I don't know who that is. No.
Well, he's got a lot of musicians and hip hop artists and stuff like that, which none of them know how to play an instrument probably, but they always have like a drum set in the background. It's just kind of cool. So very interesting.
Well, I can promise you that these instruments get a lot of use. I was legitimately just playing some drums before we got into contact. It's just something I do to relieve stress or practice or anything like that.
There isn't many instruments he can't play though.
It's crazy. I'm very gifted. I don't know how to play piano properly, but I can make it sound good. I've just been very blessed with a very, very keen musical ear.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, I only play a couple of instruments myself, but most people barely play one. So what am I complaining about? But
right.
Oh man. So this do you have any kids? I can't remember.
No.
Okay.
We have a cat. He's worse than a kid, I think, sometimes.
Absolutely. So, and humble. But my thing is the reason why I was asking is because there seems to be a genuine like best friend type relationship between you and your wife, and between Sarah and you. And the thing, and what interesting is that she has a job during the day, right?
Yeah, she works as a financial advisor.
Okay, cool. So, that's just my thing is that I see a genuine friendship because I've dated women and I've been in serious relationships and stuff like that. But I can honestly say out of every woman I've ever dated or talked to at my age, I've literally only been friends with maybe 2 of them. And that's sad. That is so sad.
It's hard. I mean, I think that's any relationship that I've seen that has really gone the distance is because they're friends first and they're in a relationship and quote unquote they're lovers second. And that for me, that was so important. And the real reason behind that is because we actually dated online for about 5 months before I actually even met her. And then 2 months after that, when I moved here, because I actually moved to Saskatchewan to be with her. So we got to know everything about each other before I even got to squeeze her hand. And so it forced us into position to get to know each other and realize, oh, we're actually like super compatible. And like, I believe wholeheartedly that she is my soulmate. And that was before I even met her in person.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so for us, it's just easy. We just get along so well.
I can tell, like I said, I've only seen her a few times on camera, but she's cool. All that good jazz. I got a comment here from somebody. Is this somebody you know?
That might be my mother.
Well, hello, mom. Hello,
Hey,
mom.
mom.
Well, let's see. And then, of course, there, yeah, he's my best friend. Absolutely. And then this might be your mom. Communication is first and foremost. Absolutely,
Yep.
Pamela. I agree with that. And I've got a dating expert that I'm potentially getting on here. He's one of the best in the country. His name's Trip
Oh, wow.
Kramer.
Okay.
And I say, of course, I know you're from Canada, but here in America, I'm I'm calling him out right now. Trip, you got to come on, man. But I'm hoping that he'll like. I see his videos and stuff like that, and he needs to be on as many, not only his platform but other platforms as well, just to preach his word because he knows how to develop, a good solid foundation with the opposite sex or same, I guess, if in this decade, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but I try to be politically correct and all that good
For
jazz,
sure. Yep.
but my thing is that you know when you're communicating with your partner, so to speak, he knows how to do it and he knows how to work it from years of like 6 months to 20 years, so
Right.
we need more people like that in the world.
Yeah. Well, and I think for the other thing for me is really important is creating an atmosphere where that's just something that people do. You're just friends. Like my mom and dad, to shout them out, and my mother in the chat there. Like my mom and dad showed affection to not just me and my little brother, but that to each other. And you could tell that they were genuinely like my wife and I, where we were very close. We're friends. We love being around each other. We enjoy each other's company. Of course, people fight, and you have to work through that. And who hasn't, had a fought with their significant other? It's part of life. It's what you do afterwards that defines you. And my mom and dad always made sure, and they taught me, just by their actions. They never told me how a relationship works, but they showed me how having patience and just making sure that you make it right before the sun goes down. And so
Yeah.
that was easy for me. I learned that naturally, so that when Sarah and I started dating and everything, it worked for my parents. And it just having patience and just being friends with your significant other. You can't perfect that. It just works. if you
Yep.
if you if you just can't help but spend time with somebody, um you know it makes life easy to a certain extent.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Mama Nickington. I see you. That's what I'm talking about. You know, well, and I know that and we're just having a conversation, of course, but the one thing
Hmm.
about it is that, the biggest thing in this world right now is, there's so much depression and there's so much, anxiety right now, in,
Hmm.
I can't speak for Canada, of course, but in America, in 1968, I believe the depression rate was 13%. Now it's up to like 64% or something like that. So
Yeah.
we, the biggest problem right now is that we don't have this presence mindset. I've found that out, that when you kind of take your mind off the past and the future and you work on what it is you're doing in the present, then all of a sudden, that kind of goes away. This mindfulness
Right.
exercises and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, let me ask you something: Is are you? What is the next natural progression when it comes to like your current lifestyle? I know you said you wanted to do the music. You're gonna try. You're gonna make an attempt to the music, which I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
And I also, with the video game, with the video streaming and stuff like that, is there a natural progression that you're looking forward to besides the obvious ones of like partner and stuff like that?
I mean, in this particular field, I don't think it's necessarily the sky is the ceiling. I think there is things to achieve for, but I think there's a point where you can only go so far in streaming. I mean, I think you can go only so far in a lot of professions.
Yeah.
Obviously, like you said, partner and reaching out to different companies and sponsorships and being invited to stuff. Um, I mean, who knows? I love doing voices. I've been something that I've just been enjoying to do, and I do them in my streams, voicing characters and just doing accents.
Yeah.
And so for me, it would be like it would be incredible. I mean, for me right now, I don't see it being a possibility, but to find myself, working in a studio doing voiceovers or
Yeah.
something along those lines. I mean, I think it's every streamer's hope to a certain extent. I think it should be to grow. And
Yeah.
so if that's, I've seen people that get television roles out of being a content creator, whether it be on YouTube, Twitch, you name
Yeah.
it, going into music, finding different realms of success, because of course with streaming, you're limited to so much. And so when you can broaden that horizon, so yeah, I'm open to whatever happens. I also do have an interest in working with kids and teens.
Hmm.
That was something that I enjoyed doing before streaming, and I'm only 34 years old, so the doors are always open to get some education and really make an impact that way too. So I'm enjoying the ride so far, and whether I get to stream for another couple of years or a couple of months, I'm just hopeful that whatever I move on to will just be full of life and no worry and no anxiety. Considering where the world is nowadays, I think that's more important.
Hmm.
Uh,
Agreed.
Something that we need.
Absolutely. Uh, let's see. Crooked Brow Productions. Part part of the difference between 1967 and now is that we better understand conditions and are actually diagnosing them, as opposed to the 60s when mental health professionals were rare and hard to get seen. I mean, I agree with that. I mean, I've got enough psychologists and therapists that are coming on my show that I could ask that question in detail for those that, if anybody wants to keep following the show and subscribing to it. But these are things that we have to address nowadays, because was ignorance a part of it back then? That's a good question. I don't know. I mean,
I think it is. I think it's that, and of course, it's a certain level of laziness and just not paying attention. I mean, I'm 34 years old. I've said that. Everyone in your community is going to know exactly how old I am by the end of this. But I'm 34 years old. I know that I have ADHD. Do not
yeah,
have a diagnosis. I went through school. I suffered. I struggled, and I thought it was a problem with me. And it
yeah.
was just easier just to brush it under the rug
Hmm.
and just for not even worry about it, forget about it. And so I think it's out of sight, out of mind. And I think now we're discussing it, and it's not so taboo to talk about mental health. And there's a lot of people like myself who are realizing these things. And so I think that statement really for me is very eye opening, because back then it was just like, we don't talk about that, taboo.
Yeah. Well, the biggest issue that I have is that when in 2017 I was having like eating disorder and it was relating to depression and stuff like that, which obviously, um, obviously you're Sir Nick and I'm Circumference, so you know.
I've always said to people that I have a body of a god. That god is Buddha.
That's right. I always tell people I got fluff on top of the buff. I love it. I can make myself laugh sometimes. Oh,
It's a good place to be. It's a dangerous place to try to leave when you think when you know you're funny and you have an audience of one.
definitely. So anyway, yeah, but like I know that like they put me on this medication for like 6 weeks, right? I think I took it for maybe or tried to put me and evaluate me for the first 6 weeks. I couldn't take it. I took it for three
Mm,
weeks and it made my skin break out. It made me drowsy. My bones hurt. All that stuff, and it's just oh man, I was just I was exhausted all the time, and I hate drugs. Like I don't even smoke weed. Okay,
mm,
I hate drugs. Because
yeah.
when I had back surgery, I took a Percocet. Or no, excuse me. When I had back surgery, I had Vicodin. When I had a kidney stone, I took Percocets. All for only a few days, and I hated it.
Right.
Absolutely hated it. So, drugs are the. I'm telling you, drugs are the biggest thing that's going to destroy the mind more than anything. So,
Yeah, I think there's I mean, my opinion on there's definitely stuff that can help people, but I think the problem is that we're withholding the things that can really help people and just shoving the garbage down people's throats and
I th-
charging them an arm and leg for it.
I think exercises are better, and I don't mean like physical, but like mental exercises and stuff like that.
For sure.
I think that's the best thing to do.
I mean, you look at these folks that are in their 80s to 100s, and are in great shape. I saw a picture of a man he was 100 years old, and he looks way more in shape than I'll ever be. And all he's doing is just taking care of his body and taking care of his mind, and that's, I mean, it's something that's difficult to attain because it's hard to change your habits, but I mean, there's something to be said about just eating healthy and being healthy and just taking care of yourself mentally
Absolutely.
and physically.
Absolutely. I got a comment here. Hey, Nick. Hey, Hank. What's up?
What's
Uh,
happening?
who do I know this guy?
I think I know him. His picture looks familiar, but I don't recognize his last name.
I like him.
I
I
like
don't
him too.
know.
He's got a cool name.
Yeah, Nick Parker. That sounds like a superhero name.
Sounds like a metal name to me, I think.
Teddy bears need some stuffing to be huggable. I love it.
Absolutely, they do.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Metal King
Okay.
Nick. I figured as much.
I,
Metal's one
I
of my friends in the community.
okay. Yeah. I know who he is. I've seen him. Good
Yeah.
dude. Good dude. Seems like it. You know. By the way, speaking of the community, by the way, I'd like to. Yeah, we got you, Nick. My man. That's what's up. Uh, Mike, I was just thinking about something when I first met you, or let me rephrase that. When I first started watching your stream, you were having a lot of these trolls come in and make fun of you and stuff like that. And you didn't,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, you didn't handle it as well as you should have. As far as like, okay, you handled the situation from a classy standpoint, but I felt like that you were letting it bother you too much. Here we are, here we are, a year and a half or two later, and you're definitely handling it way better than you have in the past.
Say that all you want. It's funny you bring that up. I will say that I'm able to. So the biggest thing for me is in the moment. I take things. I wouldn't say personally, but I'm just a very emotional person, and so that's it. Still bothers me whether or if or even how I react to it is a whole different story. Because today we had someone say something, and I let it bother me. I let it fester. But the thing that I've gotten better at, and I think the most important thing is to leave it at the door. So when
Yeah.
I'm stepping away from the computer, it's not something that matters to me. I used to
Yes.
take that stuff and it would just pulverize me. I would be paralyzed. I wouldn't be able to. Some days it would be hard to go back, especially when people really went after me, when they went after my weight, or how I look, or the way I talk, or just stupid things that have nothing to do with it. It's been a process, and I'm a big proponent. It's so easy for people to say, just let it go,
Mm-hmm.
ignore it. And I'm a big proponent that is just a really dangerous way of thinking. I think it's important sometimes to deal with things. It's so important to process things. And as a streamer who primarily focuses on comedy, it's also important for you to turn that into content. And so sometimes when I get a troll these days, I can actually kind of flip it around and have some fun with it, because again, I know where the hate is coming from. It's not because I'm me. It's not because of anything. It's just these people are hurting and they're lashing out. So if I can turn it around to make it into something special, I've made friends out of people that wanted to troll me and call me names and be rude to me, and turn them into actual viewers. It's beautiful.
I don't say this, anybody like I got Ecamm community members that watch my show and stuff like that. That's my streaming platform that I use, Ecamm,
Right.
and they haven't seen this side of me yet. But but I can handle hecklers very well.
Right.
I can handle hecklers very well. I know how to handle them. I am very, and then a lot of that comes from my years of broadcasting and stuff like that. I know how to handle them, and whether it's classy or not is beside the point. But I know how to shake them off, and
Right.
I can, I know you've kept it you've kept it very sophisticated and classy in our conversation, so I won't use too much horrible language, especially since you have people, loved ones watching you. But believe me, I know the things that I could say to get them off, and
Mm-hmm.
I promise you, it's a talent of mine. I know how to tell people to go piss off. So
Right.
it's
I
just
think I think for me, it's sometimes, a lot of the time, surprisingly enough, people just are misunderstood. And
mhm.
a lot of it with streaming is because it's live. you know I don't have that time to think about, oh, what should I do, what should I say, how should I handle this. So
Yeah.
I always approach it from a place of just, obviously there's people that just want nothing from me, and they just want to dump
Mhm.
all over me. Oh, fine, I don't have time for you, see you later, I can just write it off. Sometimes people are just misunderstood, And so it's a fine balance. And for me, like I said before, I'm in the business of growth. I want to grow. And so as much as I don't want to get rid of the person, sometimes you have to try to balance that and say, oh, can I turn this into a follower? Can I turn this into a new friend? Or, which 9 times out of 10 happens, I have to just say, okay, see you later. Or they'll leave on their own because they don't like something that I'm doing or
Yeah.
whatever.
And I appreciate the way you've handled it, because I remember a couple of times I came to your rescue for one of them. Back talking them on stuff like that, and you were like,
Mm-hmm.
"No, Hank, I got this. I got my moderators. My moderators will handle this and stuff like that."
Moderators are the lifeblood.
Oh,
My stream doesn't work without moderators.
oh,
Um, the
oh man,
biggest supporters, they keep things safe. They are actually my biggest trolls, and I hate them very much, but I also love them.
I,
The list
oh
goes on.
yes, absolutely. No, the best moderator is actually watching right now, ladies and gentlemen from the Ecamm community. My dear friend, Mr. Paul Duncan, aka Mr. Moderator. Yes, sir.
Welcome, welcome.
That's we. I always like to talk about Ecamm on here because it's everybody else uses OBS. I love the community, and it's anybody who's wanting like a show or anything like that. I encourage it. I have no problem. I have no problem hawking that or plugging that.
For sure.
Absolutely. By the way, Nix attracts more Nicks. I love that.
I've got so many. I think I have more Nicks in my community than any other named person. I
Oh
can
man,
think of about 4 or 5 of them real darn quick. I don't know what it is.
absolutely. The I poo poo commands chills Nick out. I love it.
Yes, it does.
I love it. That's funny, but oh man. So I forgot what I was going to ask you about. It was something. It was something relating to the stream. I will. I will say this. The one thing I admire about you is that I know that for business wise, that you had decided to turn the stream into an 18 plus, but you've kept your sophistication on there as far as like not intentionally using bad words constantly, and
Yeah,
that's a hard thing to do.
it is. I think I look at everything that I've done as seasons with streaming. I think I make big enough changes between those changes to look at them as a shift moving towards where I want to be, but
Mm-hmm.
also realizing that when I make that shift, I know another shift is coming because I feel that complacency in just about every aspect of something that is uh, entrepreneurial is very, very dangerous. So for me, like I don't swear like a sailor. I try not to, especially being someone who's a Christian. I hold myself to higher standards.
Yeah.
I'm not a perfect person. Some people may see that as an excuse, but I curse from time to time. I don't care. But what I found was when I was forcing everybody to kind of fill in between a line, and I know a lot of people did that initially on Facebook, specifically because for me, when I was purely on Facebook, we had family coming in all the time, and during the pandemic, couldn't really see anybody, so that was the best way for them to see, oh, there's Uncle Nick, or there's my stepson, or
Mm.
not stepson, but son-in-law or whatever. And so there
Yeah.
was certain standards I was holding myself to. The best decision that I ever made was removing that and allowing people to speak freely as long as they're not being cruel, because I found that I was censoring chat, censoring people, and people that get censored don't like that. And it's not a matter of bowing to the masses, but I think it was just a really good decision to just allow people to feel comfortable. And I'm so glad that I made that decision. It made things so much easier, because when you're looking in the chat and someone drops an F-bomb and you're like, no, 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 that's not a fun experience for anybody. And I wish that I would have realized it sooner. I know Dave, the Kaiser Superstream, Dave Follett, made that decision as well.
Yeah.
And there's an inauthenticness to it to a certain extent, where you swear away from the stream, but you can't let your stream swear. I feel like for me,
Yeah.
that was just really, really just not authentically me. And like you said, and I appreciate you saying that, I don't like to swear on stream. I also realize that sometimes curses can be used for just adding a little bit of oomph behind something funny. And I prioritize humor more than anything. I'm not the best gamer in the world.
Mm.
I'm hardly the best streamer. I'm hardly the best streamer in my house, and so I got to find tools to make it work. But But yeah, that was one of the best decisions I ever made, was moving away from that. That hurt a lot of people. I realize it, because there was a lot of people that watched me with their family. Now they got to be careful with what said. I don't hold back a whole lot. I'm not dropping F-bombs. I avoid F-bombs like the plague. I do not do them. I don't need my mom mad at me. But
Yeah.
but yeah, it was a tough decision, but it was a good decision.
You know what? And no offense, but like when your first day that I was there, your first day that you had dropped the moved it to 18 plus, and when Dave's was 18 plus, his was way funnier with the audience. They were just,
oh, for sure. Well, he doesn't hold back. He doesn't hold back.
I wasn't even.
Sorry, go ahead.
I wasn't even talking about him. I was talking about his audience, man. They were
like, yeah. It was like they were holding up pent anger and swear words and farts, and they just let it all out like a spew.
I was just like, oh my goodness. I mean, that made mechanics blush. I mean, come on.
There's some sailors in the sea going, excuse me, that hurts my ears.
Absolutely. Let's be polite and let me see if I can get some of these comments in. Yeah. That or try to own it. Better yourself from criticism than either to leave or become your friend. Yeah, well, yeah, that's one way of looking at it. And then, yep, Sarah puts, she put the 2 hammers on there.
Band hammer.
We love you. There you go, Sarah. Good. Yeah, Sarah. And then, of course, let's see, Steel Horns. I had to AFK.
Away from keyboard.
Did I miss anything? Okay. I never could talk.
This isn't a funny podcast. This is meant to be serious. So, Moosey, you didn't mean you just missed some just salacious stuff. We're talking about
exactly. I mean, I haven't made one joke yet. So, Nick took off his shirt and did the worm. She's putting your business out there.
Yep.
Nick did the third most common name in the world. Really? He does. I don't know about his chat. He doesn't know. I know about his chat. Okay. I tried that, Sarah. Then the floor took me to court. This is fun. Censoring just created more problems. That's entirely unnecessary. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that really quick if I could, because Sarah is Sarah is the main moderator. We have lots of moderators and we've had people come and go. The biggest problem with that too was that it put a stress on the actual moderators themselves to say, hey, can you not say those words? And so now they're in the direct line of fire. And sometimes it wasn't just like, oh, I'm sorry. It was, F you. And they went on a tirade and then they started messaging people. And some people just don't like being told no, and they'll lash back because they don't have anything better to do. And so for my moderators, I know it was a little breath of fresh air, both so they could be the way they want to be and not have to get after people because they said, the S word. Ooh.
Absolutely. No, it's, I mean, and for the record, Sarah's a terrible moderator because she's really likable.
You hear that, Sarah? You're terrible.
I'm just messing with her, but she's doing just fine. But I thought moderators were supposed to be pricks. I mean, I remember when I first got on there and I was doing the language. What was one of the moderators didn't understand what feng shui was or something like that. Mm-hmm. They said, watch your language, and they deleted my comment. And I was like,
oh my gosh.
Like, come on, man. And there was another one. Somebody else said something. I abbreviated FUBAR, and that's an old saying from the 40s, and nobody knew what that meant except this one moderator on your stream that was like, had to delete it. And I was like, you come on.
Yeah. So some people take their jobs a little too seriously, and I don't get that. It's supposed to be fun.
I know it. It's just being funny. Sarah Shaw, that's my secret. Kill him with kindness.
Heck yeah.
Damn straight, Sarah. I am a mod who is... I just mess with you. I tell you who I miss seeing on there is Bobby McGinnis, man. Like, he was... has he been on there lately? Have you seen him lately?
He has. He's been busy with work, but he pops in occasionally, just about once a day on my stream, just for a little bit, just because I'm streaming usually when he's working.
I like Bobby. He's a good dude, man. Like,
Bobby's good people. Bobby's been around for a long time. He's one of my older mods that have kind of stuck through thick and thin. Hasn't been as active, but I see him pretty much once a day in my stream and in other people's streams.
real quick. That's the only reason why I said it, Paul, is to see if you were going to react. Let me tell you. Let me tell you something. There's not too many people I've loved more than Paul Duncan. That's my guy. I'm
Nice.
going to meet this guy in about 3 weeks, and
Nice.
I am extremely excited. You know, he doesn't drink, but I'm going to probably buy him a cup of coffee or something like that. I got to do
There you
something.
go. Put some sugar in it. Live a little.
Yeah, exactly. There is nobody I love more than that man.
There you go.
I'm telling you, this show would not be happening with that guy without him. I promise you. That's the guy right there. If you we have like these, I'm telling you, these streaming platforms, you know, it's amazing how much you can really fall for people in so many different ways, man. Like, you know,
Right.
friendships and
It's
stuff
actually
like that.
it's amazing that you bring that up because I have some ideas for a podcast of my own that I want to do with some people. So I'll have to keep that in mind and see what we can come up with because I'm looking to do this. This is actually doing this with you is putting some fire under my butt to actually get something started with some friend streamers and see where it goes.
Out of my 7 guests, 5 of them have told me that being on this podcast with me has inspired them to do their own thing. So
That's
I am
awesome.
so.
I mean, that's amazing. Take that for what it's worth. That's cool.
And I've had people in my personal life, you know, I've had people in my personal life said, man, how do you do that? And I was like, I point them towards Ecamm, of course, you know, if you want to do the video streaming part. And then, you know, you got OBS, which is, you know, for those that maybe are a little bit more financially pinched, so to speak. OBS is free, right?
OBS is free, yeah.
Okay. I can see that for like maybe people that are a little bit more financially pinched and stuff like that. And Ecamm's not expensive though. I mean, it's a fantastic platform, and you know, I do the pro version, but man, there are so many perks to it. I mean,
Right.
like
I'll have to look into it.
everything you see on this screen is created by Ecamm. Okay.
Right.
It's just insane what they can do. And then, you know, I've got all kinds of cool, you know, I've got all kinds of perks and stuff like that. But that's the beauty part about these streams. You know, they have inspired people to stream. Like Hanana and Pajamas, you know, she was just a fan, and then she started her own stream, and she's on Twitch now, if I'm not mistaken, right?
There's a lot of people that it just that's I tell this to people all the time. There's so many people that are waiting for an opportunity, and really with streaming, your first stream is always going to be awkward. It just always is. It doesn't matter, you know, what you're playing or what you're doing or what time you're doing it. It's always going to be awkward. And success is not immediate. And so really the people that are waiting just need to go for it. That's what I tell people. And so there's a lot of people that were in my stream that are streamers now that have taken that advice, because really, like, you know, there's so many things that you can prep behind the scenes, but there's also a lot of things that can go right when you start your first stream. So I just always recommend to people that want to start streaming video games, streaming whatever, playing music, doing art, just do it. Stop waiting and just go for it, because if you are the next big so and so, all you're doing is just wasting time and losing opportunities while you're waiting to get going.
When my broadcast, you know, my radio broadcasting, and you know, I was pretty. I mean, you know, I did a lot of guru type stuff on there. I wasn't just like a current events and sports guy. I mean, I had people come out and call me for advice, and I'd give it to them and change their lives. So when I lost my broadcasting, I would be dead today, not in a physical sense, but I mean, who knows? I mean, you know, you know, there's nothing you can do outside. There's nothing you can do about things when you have no direction. You know, if you have no, I'm telling you, you know, this saved my life. This is saving my life, and I am so happy that, you know, I mean, you know, and I'm not gonna cry, but man, good night, man. I mean, how many people, like, all right, 15 years ago, there are so many people that are just homebodies. They don't do much. You know, they're not good. You know, they don't get out the house much. They can't afford to get out the house, or they just not necessarily financially, but because of kids. You know, I mean, nobody wants to go out to a bar all the time and drink. So you have streaming platforms that give people purpose, and people have done that.
Yeah.
And it's really improved quality of life.
It really is amazing, and you've touched on it, I know, with Dave a little bit.
Yeah.
How much of a difference that, and it's hard to see it when you're in it and you're not receiving it, it's hard to see the amount of impact that you can make on somebody. I've had people reach out to me, and again, I say this as hypocritical as possible, but it's so insanely hard for me to see the impact that I make on people. They come up and they say, like, man, like I don't like, I had one person that's like, I don't play video games anymore. I don't watch anything about video games. I don't care about video games. But watching you play them and be happy about them has made me want to play video games again, and has made me a happier person. And I feel like I belong to a community and I have friends. And especially during the pandemic, that was huge because we were all isolated. So having a community of people that they can just be like, hey, stranger, you're my friend now. There's people, it's hard
Mhm.
not to get emotional about it, but there's so many
Sure.
people in my community that are friends that would never have met in any circumstances, people on different parts of the world. And you can't take credit for that. I realize that. I cannot take credit. I refuse to take credit. And again, it's hard for me to see that, to be able to appreciate it. But
Mhm.
the reality is I've made a difference in someone's life. And that's the coolest, most amazing damn thing that I think I've ever done in my life.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you said that being on this is kind of like, wanting to spark up you doing something, it's just,
Mm-hmm.
that's all I have. Like, my skills are limited at this point because of this, because I'm starting this out, and I'm learning all this stuff. And I don't mind helping anybody out in any way. I promise you I don't, as far as
Mm-hmm.
talking to people and stuff like that. But if I can at least inspire somebody else to do something, that makes it worth it, man. We have got to take care of each other out here. We've got to, you know.
Yep.
Oh, by the way, real quick, Paul says fire and Hank's butt's bringing up history.
Oh boy.
That's funny. But no, that's. Uh, hold on one second. There was one that I saw that somebody wanted to say, or somebody else said something. Oh yeah, Nick Parker said the rough part is money for the setup. Yeah, that's a tough one for some people. I think that there are so many platforms out there though that know how to get your bang for your buck, so to speak.
Yeah, there's such a wide array of tools. You look at our microphones. This is, for me in Canada, it's anywhere from $400 to $600 depending on your currency. That's not a
Mm-hmm.
cheap mic, but you
No,
can buy a $50 mic to start. Your
yeah,
phone, I don't know where my phone is. There's programs that turn your phone into a camera for your stream. So there's
yeah,
alternatives. You're not wrong. It does take money to get started.
yeah.
Um, but sometimes and I say this as gently as possible. Sometimes the excuses
Mhm.
are a lot easier to make than the commitment to get started.
Yeah, and Nick brings up social anxiety and other personal problems affect them. Yeah, I get it, but I don't want to be that guy that says that's an excuse or whatever.
Hmm.
I don't know. Like, I wasn't comfortable having a camera in my face. I've always been behind a microphone, and I've done I commentated pro wrestling when I was in my early 20s, late teens or whatever, but I was too ignorant to know the difference.
Mm.
So I was
I mean, I don't want to brush over the social anxiety, because even at this point in the stage, sometimes there's days that I have a hard time get going just because I'm struck with fear and anxiety.
right.
And I think that's a legitimate thing.
Yeah.
And eventually, like, there's just going to be a point where you're either going to get over it or you're not.
Yeah.
But I think that's the biggest hurdle when you're wanting to when you have a desire to do something like this, when you think that I have something to give, because everybody has something to give. I've always
Yeah.
said that I think everybody can stream if they use the right tools.
Hmm.
It's the luck has a huge part of success. Um,
Absolutely.
but I think the hardest part is just clicking that go live button. And with the way things are with communities, when you're part of something, if any of my community members are like, I'm going to start streaming, we've had some people do that. I'll do the best that I can to show up, but you better believe that I'm going to push people to your stream, people that that you kind of understand where they're coming from. So it's always good to be part of a community that's willing to expand and grow. And again, the hardest part is just clicking that go live button. Everything will just happen. It's just going to be a learning period.
Absolutely. And you sound like the people in my community. I keep talking about Ecamm. It's such a, you know, I don't know, it's like having a wet blanket. It's like having a really big wet blanket on you. There's no way you can get it off unless somebody else assists you with it. Right. But at the same
Hmm.
time, you're part of this is on your own. So get out, figure a way to get out. It's a 5 round fight out there, folks, and you've really got to be careful. You've got to put all your will into it and pull yourself over the side of the building that you're hanging from at least once. And then I
Yeah.
promise you it gets easier after that.
I like that. I just saw this comment. This is perfect. Paul Duncan says, if you wait for everything to be perfect to hit the go live button, you will never go live. I love that. That is so key.
Even if you're
There's so many people waiting. I don't care if whatever you're doing when you're broadcasting, just generally broadcasting, with streaming, podcasting, nothing's going to go perfect. You can wait for things to go perfect. The moment that you click that go live, something will happen, and you either have to have the expectation, oh, things are going to go wrong, but I'm just going to go with it because I'm supposed to have fun.
You have a lot of. Let me tell you something. Even if you don't use Ecamm, go and watch the platform on YouTube, Ecamm Live.
Mhm.
There's
Okay.
so many people in there that have so much experience, and there's a lot of guys that talk about they don't just talk about the actual streaming and content. There's this guy named Marshall on there, man, good dude.
Mhm.
He's done some things about mindfulness and getting over these hurdles, and he won't even talk about cameras or microphones or nothing like that. And there's just so much wisdom in that stream or that platform that I always plug and hawk, because it's changed my life. It really has. And
That's awesome.
I'm also, I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm starting somewhere, and
Exactly.
and look at the and look and here and look, Paul just said it best. I mean, I've been streaming for 3 years and things still go south. Yeah, exactly.
It's going to happen, and you just have to be willing to go with the punches and realize it has nothing to do with your ability to have success or not. Things happen. Computers break down. You go through depression. You can't judge success on that level. I think the best way to judge success in this space, in this job, in this profession or career or whatever you want to call it, is your ability to have things go sideways and to bounce back, because that's going to be the true definition of success, I think.
Absolutely. And Paul's like, yeah, live happens. Absolutely. But you know what? You can say what you want to about Mike Tyson. The smartest thing I've ever heard in my life when it comes to things like this is everybody's got a plan until they get hit.
Yep.
And so what are you going to do when you get hit? That's the question. And
Yeah.
that's the question. And I think preparation is probably the number one answer on that. Know that Murphy's Law will take place. What can go wrong will go wrong. So you have to prepare for it. If you cut yourself, hopefully you've got your first aid kit in the car.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the way to look at it.
Well, it really comes down to that old phrase, if people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan, right?
I love it. Good saying. That's one of the reasons. Like, I started this journey 2.5 years ago. Like around December of 2020. And I didn't start till 7-8 weeks ago, something like that. This is episode 6 or 7 I'm on, but I wanted to be, one of the reasons why I didn't jump into it is that I wanted to be mentally prepared to not freak out whenever things happen.
Mm-hmm.
Things have happened. Like when I told you about my situation with Dave, and that happened with Dave, and I had to fix it immediately, which there might be another alternative how to fix it, which I'll have to seek wisdom from people about that. But the thing about it is that now that I got that out the way, I'm doing fine. You don't learn from victories. You really don't.
No, exactly. Yeah. 100%.
I would rather learn from failure. Okay, if I plant a garden and the garden doesn't, or I'd rather plant a tree and the tree doesn't grow, but then I learn from that tree not growing, but then all of a sudden I do better with 10 trees. 10 trees start growing around me. That's how I want to be. Like, I don't want to be not saying I want to seek failure, but I'm hoping that my failures will allow me to not just grow one tree, but 10 trees around me.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I think you really, with anything, especially in an entrepreneurial kind of situation like this, especially when it matters, in my situation where it matters to dollars and cents, understanding that failures is just a lesson. It's just a tool. And those that wallow in their failure, which is easy to do, and I still do it. I'm as much of a hypocrite as I am a motivational person saying this, but failure is so beautiful. It's so important. And just knowing that, you can have failures, but no guilt and shame it puts you ahead of everybody else. It really
Abs-
does.
Absolutely. I mean, you think about some of the greatest people that, like, that we admire.
Hmm.
Hold on one sec. Paul says when things go wrong, it shows you are human and people can relate to you. Absolutely. No, that's
Yeah.
ain't no way in the hell that I would not have that I couldn't be relatable. Imagine if I was just like sculpting Adonis and everything absolutely went perfectly for me. Like imagine if I was The Rock without his story behind it. People have heard the story of The Rock story. He had $7 in his pocket when he started wrestling and stuff like that. He comes back from Canada. But imagine if you didn't hear his story, past the year 1998 or before the year 1998. How relatable would he be?
Uh,
Probably
yeah.
not very, because since 1998 he's been the greatest wrestler, the greatest actor, all that stuff. But if you didn't hear
Hmm.
his story prior to like 1998, then he's not relatable at all.
Yeah. The power of someone's testimony is, I mean, it just makes a difference. Just sharing yourself and being open and being honest, and that can be enough for people to be relatable to you.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
I
mean,
feel, when I bring up ADHD or I bring up my upbringing, someone somewhere is going to go, I relate to that. I'm going to start checking you out, and
yeah,
boom, you have a follower.
I will say this though, since I hate drugs, and I don't, I won't be relatable in that aspect, because like I said, I mean, I talked about this on my second episode. I was like, man, you know, I'm too vulnerable to do drugs, man. Like it's just it scares me, man.
Right.
I don't want to. So, but there are people out there who've come in those situations and come out on top. I mean, they have absolutely come out on top, and I tip my hat off to every one of them that do.
Yeah.
Uh, let's check in with the comments real quick. So we've got Sarah once again. If you can still be entertaining while fixing your issues, you're gonna go far. Absolutely, I can agree with that.
Yeah. I think any opportunities to create content, whether they're good or bad, is, I think is you're creating value for somebody. So if you can sing a song while something goes bad, you're giving something to somebody. Not everybody may enjoy it, but you're giving something to somebody.
Damn right. Uh, I wouldn't even be able to smell what he was cooking.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine a world where you could not smell what Dwayne Johnson was cooking? I don't want to live in a
No,
world like
no.
that.
The world, man, dude. I tried his. For the record, I'm not a heavy drinker, but I tried his tequila. By the way,
Hmm.
that's not what The Rock's cooking. Okay.
I've heard some feedback from it. It's yeah, I'm good.
Well, you know what? Oh, well, I take that back. Rock, if you see this, I love your tequila. You could sponsor me and you know put me in a new
I can, in
house.
fact, smell what you're cooking, sir.
I can smell what you're cooking. That's right. Love The Rock. Speaking of wrestling, by the way, man, I love this LA Knight guy, man. That's my guy.
He's interesting. I don't watch the weekly shows, but I watch the recaps. I really love the stuff that he's been doing with the Miz, because the Miz has been opening up a little bit, opening him up a little bit. And so I'm interested to see where he goes from here, because I can see where people are digging the whole movement, and you know he seems like a relic of the Attitude Era, but I think that's kind of what they need right now, because there's so many personalities. But yeah, he's I hope that he continues to grow and grow and grow, because he's very entertaining, and he's got that audience in the palm of his hand.
Uh, the only reason why I'll bust him, I think I told you this on the phone, or I think I told you this in private, but I'm going to bust him out only because he's been public about it. But you know Steven Richards, right? From Big Stevie
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, I've been watching his YouTube stuff lately.
Well, he's a Ecamm user.
I remember you mentioning that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's an Ecamm user, and I'm hoping to have Steven Richards on there. Katie Fawkes, a friend of ours, she had him on for meet the fam on Ecamm, and I'm gonna I don't really like. I'm hoping to squeeze some. I'm not doing this to like get celebrity, so to speak, but I mean at the same time, I mean if there are some that want to come on, and that would be kind of cool. But Steven Richards, I really when I found out he did Ecamm and stuff like that, I thought that was so cool. But
Very cool.
I'm just amazed at how many. That's another thing about streaming too, by the way. A lot of these guys that like retire from certain things.
Hmm.
Although I don't want too many famous people on there, then it screws it up for people like me.
Yeah, it can be oversaturation is not a good thing when you're in it.
Yeah.
Um, that's something that happened over the pandemic because I was actually a streamer before the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
I was already streaming and I just was trying to do I was actually trying to teach music, and then the pandemic just shot that to hell. So I had to pivot and realize, if I really go for the streaming thing, I actually can make a living for the most part.
Yes.
But everybody and their dog was like, I'm a streamer now too, which again, I'm not against it because competition creates something beautiful. It creates drive. It doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be successful, but it means that you have to try harder to get in front of everybody else, to be the bigger individual.
I yeah.
And man, the space got so oversaturated, and to a fault, and it still is oversaturated, but I also think it was an opportunity just to be the best you can be.
Yeah, and I'm not a competitive person. I'm really not. You know, I think that may be one of my issues in life is that I'm not competitive enough. That's why I'm probably not like a millionaire or something like that. But I'm just not a competitive human being. I don't know what it
Fair
is,
enough.
but
Stay in your own lane and just chill. There's nothing wrong with that.
stay in your lane. That's right.
There you go.
I like
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. Steelhorn Studio says, "Does every celebrity have a liquor? Even Dan Aykroyd has that weird skull vodka." Really, I didn't know that was Dan Aykroyd. I know exactly what you're talking about, though. But yeah,
Yeah.
P Diddy, he's got one. Jay Z, The Rock, Sammy Hagar. Who else has got it? George Clooney.
That just doesn't make sense to me.
Tequila is ruling the world right now, and I don't know why.
It tastes like garbage, so I'm good.
Tastes like I don't know. I don't know. It's like scotch. I don't get into scotch. It tastes like a wet cardboard box.
You mean you don't enjoy that?
No, I mean bourbon's
Because if not, I've got a wet rag you can chew on that'll just get you the same thing and you half the price.
okay. Like I said, I'm not a big drinker. The last time I had a cocktail was on my birthday a couple weeks ago, but that was it. That's the last time, and I had a glass of bourbon. And bourbon is really an acquired taste, but it's really good actually. If you can,
Yeah, I don't mind a glass of bourbon.
well, I had the whiskey Jesus on here about a month or two, or no, it was about 3 or 4 weeks ago anyway. And I tried his whiskey and stuff like that, and it's actually really good. And
Okay.
it's actually really good. But you know, he's with what's I'm having a brain fart, but anyway, he made a bourbon for Scottie Pippen and stuff like that, and it's really good. So
Nice.
Snoop Dogg has a wine, is what Sarah says. Absolutely, I've had the 19 Crimes. It's actually not bad.
Yeah, it's kind of nice when someone actually endorses something or is responsible and actually good, because most of it's just terrible.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to think of what celebrities endorse. You know, there's so many things that they'll endorse, like the Manscape and Blue Chew, and I'm like, look, stop being so perverted with your sponsorships, okay?
Yep.
You know, it's like, come
Yeah,
on, man.
that's an interesting thing. Is something that I've had to definitely learn as a streamer, especially when I made my switch to Twitch, because Twitch gets more eyes than Facebook does. And so, in a short amount of time of me being on Facebook, I had a lot of people reach out to me, HelloFresh, um, Udi, a lot of other people, and you got to be really careful what you endorse yourself to. And some people just see that as an opportunity. Ooh, I can do this. Okay, I'm going to do it. When they don't really look at the ins and outs and what the company stands for and what their practices are. And I've been burned a few times, honestly. So you could definitely anybody listening that gets it approached to have a sponsor, make sure you do your research and don't just say yes, because it's not always the best thing, especially when you have to sign contracts.
No, I'm a huge cigar person, so if I have to try the cigar first before I give it my stamp of approval, because you'll know that there's no authenticity when I say I love smoking this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's a big thing. I'm not saying a cigar will must be or not, but that's the idea, is that, you know, you have to be authentic. You know, I don't, if The Rock came up to me and wanted to do tequila now, I just don't think I could authentically do it. But then
Yeah,
again,
I mean, people will appreciate your morals more than your ability to be a yes man.
yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's just, oh, oh man, you know. But at the same time, I mean, you're talking to a guy that some days I'm so broke I can't even pay attention. But you know,
You're preaching to the choir, man.
yeah, I mean, I mean, if somebody robbed me, they'd just be practicing some days. But
Yep. Yep.
I'm telling you, man. Did you? What was I going to? There was something else I wanted to ask you about your streaming stuff like that. But so, when you started streaming, was it 4 years ago?
Something like that. I don't exactly know the date. I know it's coming up on 4 years. I think. I know maybe my wife can be a little bit more exact, but I'm pretty sure it's coming up on 4 years since I started.
Oh man, that's good. Hold on, I'm gonna finish. Hold that thought. I got to. This is hilarious. My wallet is like an onion. I opened it and it makes me cry. I love it. That's a good
That's good.
joke. I thought
That's good.
you know me. I've got good jokes, but
Oh,
that's a
that's
good.
excellent.
I gotta
I'm
be.
I'm so appreciative of Steelhorn Studios. She's been just such an asset to me and just making me laugh and willing
Yeah.
to poke fun at me. And
Well,
that's really what a great community is just people just having fun.
I know it. I hope she contacts me. I'd love to see her work and stuff like that because you just
For
never
sure.
know. But uh, no, the reason why I was asking when you started this, I told you I said at the beginning. I said you were the first.
Mm-hmm.
You said you were the first I saw. How many? Okay, how many of the streamers? Okay, was Raph around before you?
I don't think so. I don't know when he got his start. I feel like I was one of the older streamers on Facebook to a certain extent.
Okay, because I know Dave was after you.
He was after me shortly after, not too long after. I started watching him when he was
Right.
doing a little bit of retro, and then he really went into the Mario 35.
Yeah, because I know Michael Dwayne. He was after you too from
Yeah,
Windemic. He's after you. What about Mangrit? What about Jamie Mangrit?
I believe he was after me. I can't say for certain
Because
because it all depends on when they get started. I mean, I discovered people smattering every so often.
he's probably got the strongest audience out of this bunch because like he's always on like 6 hours a day or something like that, right?
Yeah, I mean he's up there, quite up there. He's done a little bit of roller coastering. Him and Thumb Tacos as well. Thumb Tacos, man, my heart breaks for that guy. He should be the king of Facebook. He's got one of the best looking streams. He's got it going on, and Facebook just won't give him the partnership. And he's also been making more content on different platforms,
Let me.
which is I'm just gonna say, which is really, it sounds sad to say this, but I'm glad that people are not doing well on Facebook because it told me exactly. I wish everyone success, but it was nice for me to know that I made the right decision when I initially left Facebook because things just fell apart for so many people. I know so many people that were partnered that just said, you know what, nope, I'm good. I'm gonna go somewhere else because the grass is definitely not greener here. So it was a hard decision to leave because again with me switching from family friendly to 18 plus, me leaving Facebook really burnt a lot of bridges for people because they didn't see what I was going through. They couldn't relate. They just saw, oh, my streamer's leaving, I'm not going with them, I'm mad at you. But making that decision was a really great decision for me.
Does personality have a lot to do with it too? Like why somebody might not want to make you partner?
I mean, I believe that most of the systems that are involved in algorithms are not human based. As a matter of fact, when it comes to Facebook, trying to get any help at all, it's all just words that are sent by a computer. So I don't necessarily know if personality is. I do know that there's certain aspects that companies are looking for in partnerships because when you make partner, you are set to higher standards,
Okay.
and so they're looking for certain qualities. If you're smoking dope on stream and you're getting drunk and you're pulling your titties out and you're doing all these terrible things, obviously they're not going to want you as a partner endorsing their platform. It's the same with YouTube. If you're not following their guidelines on monetization, they're not going to pay you, and they don't see you as an ally. They see you as a hindrance. So they're going to take the money and the growth away from you.
Yeah. No, it I would just that's something I'm curious about because I mean on YouTube I think that it's not just algorithm based. Like I listened to this show, which ladies, if you're please forgive me for liking this show, but I like this one called the Fresh and Fit podcast because they always have like a table full of girls right at the table, and they always try to like debate women and stuff like that. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason why I find it so funny is just the reactions from both parties in this. One guy he says the same thing every time. She says the same thing every time. They're always butting heads.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, they stream like 5 days a week and they can't come up with something. And
Right.
it's funny to me. And the guy will get frustrated and kick them off the show.
Right.
And they just recently got in trouble even though they've got over 1 million followers on YouTube. And I think it was because of misogynistic behavior, even though he was like supposedly straight facts. I don't watch the show every day. Okay, I don't have that
Mhm.
kind of time.
Right.
So you see my point, right? I don't know if it's necessarily has to do with, on obviously on Facebook it's probably more about the algorithm, but then YouTube apparently is more human based.
So I think I know which podcast you're talking about. I know there's a lot of eyes on it, and
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, with everything else, money can blur the lines a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So the more successful you are, the more that you have more wiggle room, the more that things get missed. And so I think as much as personality has as an effect, some people just really are good at uh, ignoring subtleties and things like that, and just chalk it up to oops. You're pulling in a lot of money, you're getting a lot of ad revenue, and YouTube's making a lot of money, so they can sort of go like this and be like, I don't know what's going on, I have no idea what's going on, but things are good, make money, keep going. And then every so often they'll get in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I can't. I can't imagine anything differently. I mean,
Yeah.
I hate the cancel culture thing, but at the same time, like, don't be an asshole. You know,
Mm-hmm.
don't
Absolutely. There's
don't.
again, there's a fine line between that.
Yeah, I mean, I could say like I'm not real political, and I'm not real political just because I don't, it's not my forte. I'm not overly political, but if I say something out of line that might come across as politically incorrect or politically against your beliefs, leave me alone. I didn't know, or it just slipped
Yeah.
out.
I think with everything there has to be unfortunately nowadays it's just easier just to say no and say see you later and you're canceled when and we refuse to look at people's character intentions.
Right.
Of course, once again, they do that because it's harder to actually take the time and actually look, and it's easier just to say you screwed up, so we'll see you later.
Yeah.
Which is really, really disappointing, but at the same time is not surprising in the slightest.
What did Batman used to say? Or no, excuse me. What did the Riddler used to say? Or hold on. What was that saying? What did the Riddler used to say? Oh yeah, if you kill him, you won't learn nothing.
There you go.
So that's the biggest thing about people, especially like as a single guy. I have a problem with this. Like whenever I've dated a girl, she'll block me afterwards, right? And not because of
Hmm.
anything I did wrong or right, but they just don't want to speak to me ever again. But if you block me and then I try to contact you, or you can't contact me, or don't want to contact me, what do you learn from the experience of, if you shut out something completely or burn any bridges, then you can't go back and you won't learn anything.
Right.
I'm not saying that everything I'm saying has sound proof to it, but that's the biggest problem. We give up on people too easily.
For sure we do.
We give up on people too easily. I don't want to give up on somebody. People have given up on me so many times. I talk about my friend Paul on here that's been watching the stream and stuff like that. There are so many people in that community that probably should have given up on certain people, especially myself, a long time ago, but they didn't. And
Hmm.
here I am, and I'm hoping that this snowballs into something better. And I'm enjoying myself now. I'm actually able to enjoy the process.
Right.
And my prayer and hope is that it does snowball into something different and bigger.
Definitely.
But it wouldn't have happened if people hadn't have like stuck with me and not gave up on me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, really, that is the truest definition of my stream and anybody's gaming stream. If people give up on you, then you got nothing and you have no one. So I'll say something, and usually with especially with streaming video games or whatever is there's everything is going a mile a second, 10 miles a second. And so, I'll misspeak. I'll say something totally offensive that I didn't mean to. And hopefully your community is wise enough and cares about you enough to say, you know what, I know your intentions. I know that was a mistake. And so I'm going to look past that, or we're going to talk about it. And so you realize you screwed up, and just having a relationship within a community. And it's a beautiful thing. But unfortunately, the bigger that you get, the less interaction you have with everybody. So you can have that mob mentality when you say something or do something out of line, and they'll just immediately, like I said, it's easier for people just to say, screw you, you screwed up, I'm out of here, than to actually look at the facts, look at your character.
Yeah.
And so cancel culture, it's tough because you say, cancel culture sucks, but at the same time, if somebody's going to be a racist bigot, they
Right.
absolutely deserve it. So again, because it's much harder to take the time, they just cancel everybody when you say one bad thing. And hopefully it's not so bad that you can't jump back into it.
Yeah, but now there is like a line that I think that is insane, like whatever. What's that guy's name? Andrew Tate. What he
Okay,
said.
yep.
Yeah, I'm not gonna repeat what he said. I'm not gonna dare repeat that. If you want to know what he said, go look it up. Why he got canceled. But that sort of
Yeah.
thing, yeah, you need to be canceled. And pardon, if you watch this, don't ever come on this side of this Mississippi River. And I promise you, I may not be able to hurt you, but don't ever come on this side of the Mississippi River. You won't be liked
Got that
very
right.
much. Because
I can't. Yeah, I'm not very fond of that guy. That guy gets. I got nothing nice to say, so I won't say anything at all.
Well, excuse my language, but he can eat a dick. But
Yep, absolutely.
Excuse the expression, but it's just like, oh, I can't stand him. He's such a
Cancel him! Cancel him!
Yes, I know it. It's
cancel culture. Cancel culture.
He can kiss both sides of my ass.
There
But
you go.
He's just absolutely such a psychopath, Andrew Tate. And for those that are in the audience that are listening, man, look up why he was canceled, and you'll understand why I am so aggressive towards him right now talking about this. That is the most sadistic thing you could say. And he's supposed to be this guy that is like all like helping men become better men and stuff like that. That is not how you make men better men. So for those watching, look it up. It's worth a look. And then you're going to be like, wow, Hank was using that kind of language. Yeah, you could understand why.
Yeah, it's not hard. You learn a little bit about him and learn why he's in. Just learn why he's in trouble, and that just scratches the surface of his POS mindset.
Not just what he does, but the things he says too. He's a psychopath, in my opinion.
Yeah,
and then thinks he's better than everybody because he's rich and stays in shape, and you're all lazy and stuff like that. I'm like, man.
I think the truest thing is that I know that I have an easier time going to bed at night and going to sleep, and I know that he doesn't. So. I mean, you eat upon the fruits of your labor. So if his fruits is misogynistic and predatory, he's just going to eat that for the rest of his life. And the reason that he's in the situation that he's in right now, it makes total perfect sense, and Andrew, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, Andrew, if you watch this, I actually like women, so there you go.
They're pretty cool.
Just because you like to have like your little flings and stuff with them doesn't mean you like women. I actually like women. Thank you very much.
There you go.
I'm not a male feminist, but come on now. Guys like that, they just don't like women at all. I'm telling you.
I don't understand the mindset. I don't get it. So it's people like that just don't need a spotlight. But unfortunately, the world that we live in, there's all kinds of folks looking for all kinds of people, which again, going back to streaming, is you will always find your people. You just got to have a patience and look for them because they will come.
Oh, absolutely. It's such a, I don't know how people like I love these. That's the thing. That's the biggest thing right now that's really irritating me about some of these podcasts and stuff like that. They're these guys that want to talk like I'm I'm the red pill or I'm the blue pill guy. And then all of a sudden, they may not off camera, but on camera, then they come off like, maybe not that they hate women, but they just want to control them to the point that there's no, there's no room for growth. And you forget the cardinal rule, fellas. When you tell somebody they can't have something, it just makes them want it that much more.
Yep.
By the way, thank you, Paul. Appreciate that. That means a lot. But it's important to be introspective to understand when you do and say something wrong to realize and why I apologize. We need more honesty on both sides and walking through issues together. Absolutely, Sarah. No, you got it. You hit it on the head.
Yeah, definitely. And it really, unfortunately, as much as you want others to do a better job, it really has to start with the individual.
Yes.
And you may never. That's the crazy thing about this world is we're not gonna be able to fix it unless we have to start things ourselves and stop being lazy and make the effort.
It's we have such a I remember Harry Truman said it best, man. If we don't make too many mistakes, what a paradise we can make this world.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. Be
absolutely.
amazing.
You want to wrap this up?
Yeah, man. I'm happy.
That's cool, man. It's I put your stream in the link. You know,
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna close this out, and I'll talk to you shortly after this. But
All right, sounds good.
good. All right, guys. That was fantastic. It's I'm glad that I hope that you guys got to know him. Good guy. Been wanting to talk to him for a while, and I knew that this was going to be like one of my favorite interviews I've done so far, and we're going to have some fun. And we're going to keep the fun coming and the value coming. I'm going to try to have him back here one of these days soon. So thank you guys so much. This has been the Hank Russell Invitation. Good night.